Most of us like to believe our emotional lives are private. We think our moods, our reactions, those moments where we're being totally transparent, we see them as signs of authenticity, of being human. But here's the thing. In the world of high-stakes influence, that belief isn't just wrong, it's a massive vulnerability. So today, we're going to do a forensic analysis of an invisible system, a system that really governs power dynamics. It's a system where your emotional honesty isn't a strength, but a data stream. A data stream that can be captured, indexed, and yet turned into a weapon against you. Let's pull back the curtain.
This right here. This is the cold, hard principle at the very heart of what we're talking about. It just flies in the face of everything we've been taught our whole lives about being open and real. We're told authenticity builds connection, right? But what if that very authenticity is what makes you predictable? And what if, in the world of strategy, predictability is just another word for control? This single sentence, it's like a key that unlocks a hidden layer of human interaction, one where your inner world can be used to direct your outer actions, often without you even realizing it.
Okay, so let's really dig into this paradox. You think that showing your frustration in a meeting or your excitement about a new project is a sign of trust, a sign of strength. But to a strategic observer, say a skilled negotiator, a rival at work, even a manipulative partner, your emotional landscape isn't a sign of your humanity. No, it's a high-definition GPS map. It gives them precise turn-by-turn directions to completely bypass your rational mind. And that is the authenticity trap. The more real you are with your reactions, the more data you broadcast, and the more perfectly you can be read.
So, there's a formal name for this: affective predictability. It sounds all academic, I know, but in practice, it is brutally effective. It basically describes that exact moment when your emotional patterns become so reliable that someone else can play them like an instrument. They don't need to convince you with logic or data anymore. I mean, why would they? Why go through all that effort when they can just push the button that produces the exact feeling? Guilt, excitement, anger, you name it, that gets them the result they want. At that point, you're not a person they need to persuade. You've become a system they can operate.
And this slide, this is where you really see the two different realities playing out at the same time. On the left, that's your experience. You feel like you're being honest, transparent, maybe even powerfully vulnerable. You think you're building a connection. But on the right, that's the reality from a strategic perspective. That transparency isn't seen as strength, it's seen as open source code. You're not just sharing your feelings, you are literally handing over the complete instruction manual for how you work. You see yourself as authentic, they see you as a programmable asset.
So what's the real price you pay for being so readable? Because this isn't just some theory. In any competitive environment, a boardroom, a negotiation, even in family dynamics, it's a constant, draining penalty. Let's call it the volatility tax. It's the strategic cost you pay every single time your emotional reaction can be forecasted and exploited by someone else. It's a tax on your effectiveness, and it gets taken every time you react instead of respond.
And this is what that tax actually looks like in practice. First, your most powerful strategic tool, surprise, it's just gone. You can't bluff, you can't fake indifference, you can't hold a position under pressure if your face gives you away every single time. Second, people just stop engaging with your arguments. Why would they? Why debate your facts when they can just trigger your defensiveness? They don't need to win you over. They just need to put you in the right mood. The tragic result is you end up losing arguments, not because your logic was bad, but because your opponent knew how you'd react and built their entire strategy around it before you even walked in the room. You become, quite literally, a puppet. And the worst part is, the strings are your own unmanaged reactions.
Okay, so we get the what and the why. We understand the trap, we see the tax. Now, let's get forensic. How does this actually happen? How does someone go from just noticing your moods to actively controlling your actions? Well, it's not magic. It's not some special talent. It is a systematic, cold, and repeatable four-step process. This is the blueprint for turning a person into a predictable function.
I really want you to focus on this idea because it's the real turning point. This is the moment your internal private feeling gets documented, indexed, and turned into an external operational playbook for somebody else to use. It's where your feelings stop being just yours and become a data set, a set of instructions that others can tap into to get what they want from you. Your mood is no longer just a feeling, it's a lever.
This slide lays out that blueprint with chilling precision. First up is the baseline audit. An observer just quietly figures out your normal. Are you usually upbeat, anxious, stoic? They need to know what calm looks like for you so they can spot any change. Then comes the stress test phase. They poke the system. It might be a small thing, a backhanded compliment, a sudden change of plans. The goal isn't to upset you, it's to gather data.
They're just measuring how far the needle moves. After that comes pattern indexing, and the rule of 3 is key here. Once you react the same way to the same kind of thing 3 times, you're not a person with free will anymore. You're indexed as a function. If I do A, they do B. And that leads to the final and most devastating phase, strategic inducement.
And this is a perfect example of that final stage in action. This isn't just a random emotional moment in a meeting. No, it's architectural. The feeling of guilt is deliberately and precisely planted, like a key in a lock, to open the door for a very specific request. The negotiator isn't hoping you'll agree, they have engineered the emotional conditions to make it almost impossible for you to say no. You think you're making a choice to be a team player, but the reality is, the emotional state that drove that choice was manufactured by someone else.
Now this all sounds incredibly effective, almost like a superpower. So you're probably wondering, why are we, as intelligent people, so susceptible to this? Well, the vulnerability isn't a character flaw. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a feature of our biology. This whole mechanism works because it exploits the fundamental wiring of the human brain. Let's look under the hood.
The mechanism is called cognitive resource depletion. When you're pushed into a state of high emotion, anger, fear, even intense excitement, your brain triggers what's known as an amygdala hijack. Blood flow is literally rerouted away from your prefrontal cortex, the smart analytical engine of your brain, and toward the more primitive reactive parts. You essentially go into an analytical offline mode. You lose access to your full intelligence. See, an influencer doesn't have to be smarter than you. They just have to be better at managing their own state while pushing you into one where you can't properly use your intelligence.
This chart really puts it into perspective. It's a stark visual of what's happening inside your head. In a calm, regulated state, you've got access to pretty much all of your analytical brain power. You can weigh options, think long-term, reason things out. But when that emotional trigger hits, look what happens. That access just plummets. Your available intelligence drops by more than half, and that's the window of opportunity. That's the state where you make bad deals, agree to things you regret, and completely lose control of the situation.
And what makes this all worse is another hardwired human trait. We are all built for survival, and that means we are constantly tracking the moods of other people. It's an ancient instinct. So if you're emotionally volatile, your mood swings are like high-frequency broadcasts. They are loud signals in an otherwise quiet room. You are constantly transmitting data about your internal state. You could be sitting there not saying a single word, but to a trained observer, your flushed face, your tight jaw, your body language, you are shouting information about your vulnerabilities and your breaking points.
So we've diagnosed the problem. We've looked at the blueprint, the biology behind it. And it all sounds pretty grim, I know. But it is not hopeless. You can reclaim your agency. This isn't about becoming a robot or feeling nothing. It's about becoming unreadable. So how do we defend against this? How do we take back our psychological sovereignty? Here's the tactical game plan.
This is your protocol for taking back control. Step 1 is the 3-second delay. This is non-negotiable. When a trigger hits, you do nothing externally for 3 full seconds. Internally, you notice the emotion, you name it, but you don't let it touch your face or your voice. That tiny pause is everything. It's the space where your power lies. It breaks the forecast. Step 2, the mask of consistency. This is about being predictably professional. Your external vibe stays stable and calm, which forces people to deal with your logic, with your words, not with the data from your mood. And finally, step 3, the forensic audit. You have to ask yourself, who in my life knows exactly which buttons to push? And then you make a strategic choice to cut those strings by not giving them the same reaction anymore.
And that, right there, is the endgame. This is not about suppressing your emotions. It's about decoupling your internal experience from your external response. You can feel profound anger, or joy, or disappointment, but you hold on to the power to decide if that feeling becomes a public broadcast, an instruction manual for others to use against you. This is what it means to master your own internal weather. It means you can be the eye of the hurricane, calm and in control at the center, no matter what chaos is raging around you.
So when you put all of these pieces together, the threat, the mechanics, the biology, and the countermeasures, it all comes together into this really powerful new way of thinking about how you operate in the world. It's a fundamental choice you have to make in every interaction, every meeting, every high-stakes conversation you have.
So this is the question I want you to ask yourself, and be honest. Who has root access to your operating system? Is it you? Or have you given it away to your boss, your partner, your rival? Just by being so emotionally readable. True authority, true psychological power, begins and ends with being the only person who holds the password to your own mind.
Think about it. A mirror just reflects whatever emotional energy is thrown at it. It reflects chaos with chaos, panic with panic, anger with anger. It's purely reactive, and because of that, it's perfectly manageable. An anchor, on the other hand, holds its position no matter how bad the storm gets. It provides stability. It has its own gravity. It forces the environment to adapt to it, not the other way around. Stop being a reflection of the volatility around you. Become the fixed point of stability and strength that others have to navigate. That is how you go from being managed to being the one who manages.